Five Nights at Freddy's has one of the most confusing timelines in gaming history. Haunted robots, child disappearances, digital ghosts, and a purple serial killer who refuses to stay dead. Today we are explaining every main Five Nights at Freddy's game from the very first night shift to Help Wanted 2. Five Nights at Freddy's 1. To start, you play as Mike Schmidt, a night security guard who probably saw the paycheck and thought, how dangerous could singing robots really be? The answer is very dangerous. Each night, you sit inside a cramped security office with limited power, watching cameras and praying that nothing with glowing eyes decides to wander toward your door. Because once the power runs out, so do your chances. Now let us talk about why these animatronics are not exactly friendly co-workers. Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are supposed to entertain children during the day. However, at night they roam the building. The official explanation from the company is that the robots are left in free roaming mode to prevent their servos from locking up. That sounds reasonable until you learn what happens if they find you. According to the training message, the robots might mistake you for an endoskeleton without a costume. Their solution is simple and horrifying. They will stuff you into a spare Freddy Fazbear suit. Unfortunately, those suits are packed with metal parts and wires, which means the process would be fatal. So yes, a wonderful workplace. But the real horror begins when you uncover what happened at this restaurant years earlier. Through newspaper clippings, it is revealed that multiple children went missing after being lured into a back room by someone wearing a mascot costume. Witnesses reported a suspicious person dressed as one of the characters. The suspect was never convicted. Soon after, customers complained about a terrible smell coming from the animatronics, along with what appeared to be mucus and blood around their eyes and mouths. Not exactly the family dining experience parents had in mind. The dark implication is clear. The missing children were murdered, and their bodies were hidden inside the suits. Now here is where things become truly unsettling. The animatronics are not just malfunctioning machines. They are behaving with intent. They stare into cameras, they move strategically, they try to corner you. Many believe the spirits of the missing children now possess the robots, turning Freddy Fazbear's Pizza into a place trapped between entertainment and tragedy. By the end of the week, you receive your paycheck and are promptly fired for tampering with the animatronics and odor. Classic corporate strategy: survive 5 nights and still get blamed. And just when it feels like the nightmare is over, one question remains: who was the person in the costume? Because whoever started this story is not finished yet. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza reopens with a fresh look, brighter colors, and animatronics that are supposedly safer than ever. The company leans heavily into advanced technology, proudly introducing robots equipped with facial recognition software connected to a criminal database. Their goal is simple: identify threats before they can harm any children. Ironically, you spend every night trying to convince those same robots that you are not a threat. You play as Jeremy Fitzgerald, the new night security guard. Instead of heavy security doors, you receive a flashlight, a Freddy Fazbear mask, and extremely calm instructions that suggest everything is under control. When an animatronic approaches, you put on the mask and hope the robot accepts you as one of its own. It is less of a safety system and more of a nightly test of your reflexes. The building is also home to the original animatronics from the previous location. Now referred to as the withered models, they are damaged, twitching, and far more intimidating than the newer characters. The company keeps them for spare parts, which tells you everything about Fazbear Entertainment's definition of responsibility. Then there is the puppet. Inside the prize corner sits a music box that must be constantly wound. If it stops, the puppet glides out, moving with a level of awareness the other animatronics do not seem to possess. Through retro minigames, the truth begins to surface. One night, a child is left outside the restaurant during a heavy rainstorm. The puppet, still trapped inside its box, tries desperately to reach them but cannot escape in time. A figure approaches the child. A car is parked nearby. The scene is quiet, deliberate, and deeply unsettling. By the time the puppet finally reaches the child, it is too late. The puppet collapses beside the body, and something changes. From that moment forward, it is widely believed that the puppet carries the spirit of that child and becomes the force that gives life to the other possessed animatronics. Another incident soon follows, one that the company tries very hard to minimize: the bite of 87. Details are scarce, but the result is catastrophic. Someone suffers a severe frontal lobe injury after an animatronic attack. Daytime operations are immediately restricted, and the newer robots are eventually scrapped due to their unpredictable behavior. On your final scheduled day, you are moved to the day shift to help supervise a birthday event. Management assures you it is perfectly safe. In a series known for terrible workplace decisions, this may be one of the worst. The restaurant closes not long after, and Fazbear Entertainment once again steps back into the shadows, already preparing for the next attempt. One detail is becoming impossible to ignore. Someone is responsible for these tragedies, and they are still out there. Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Decades pass, and the tragedy surrounding Freddy Fazbear's Pizza fade into urban legend. The abandoned restaurants become the subject of rumors, ghost stories, and late-night conversations. Instead of running from the past, someone decides to profit from it. A horror attraction called Fazbear's Fright is created to cash in on the fear. The building is designed as a walkthrough experience filled with recreated props, fake blood, and exaggerated versions of the stories people whispered about for years. At first, most of the items are replicas. Then the staff makes a discovery sealed behind a hidden safe room. Inside is a spring-lock suit. To understand why this matters, you need to know how these suits work. Spring-lock costumes were designed to function as both animatronic performers and wearable mascot outfits. When the internal mechanisms were wound tight, a person could safely stand inside. However, moisture or sudden movement could cause the locks to fail. If that happened, the metal components would snap back into place instantly with anyone inside. The suit they find is not empty. Trapped within the decayed costume is the body of William Afton, the man believed to be responsible for the missing children. Years earlier, while hiding from the spirits of his victims, he climbed into the suit for protection. The spring locks failed, sealing him inside. But death was not the end. Now known as Springtrap, he moves. Unlike the chaotic behavior of the earlier animatronics, Springtrap is focused. He hunts with patience, learning the layout of the building and closing the distance slowly. This is no wandering machine. This is a killer who refuses to disappear. Throughout the attraction, phantom versions of past animatronics begin appearing. They are not physically real, but they trigger ventilation failures, audio errors, and hallucinations that make survival even harder. Whether they are supernatural or psychological hardly matters when systems start collapsing around you. As opening day approaches, the staff celebrates finally having a real artifact. Authenticity means bigger crowds. Then everything burns. A fire tears through Fazbear's Fright, destroying the attraction before it can fully capitalize on its notoriety. Newspapers suggest it may have been faulty wiring, but given this franchise's history, very few people believe it was an accident. Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The story shifts away from security offices and surveillance cameras and into a child's bedroom. You are no longer an employee trying to survive a shift. You are a frightened child trying to survive the night. Each evening begins the same way. Darkness fills the hallway, the closet door creaks open, and something with far too many teeth breathes softly from the shadows. These are the nightmare animatronics. Twisted versions of familiar characters with exaggerated claws and rows of jagged metal smiles. Whether they are real or imagined is unclear, but the fear is very real. At the center of this story is a young boy often called the crying child. He is timid, constantly in tears, and terrified of the animatronics at a local family restaurant. His older brother finds this fear hilarious and makes it his personal mission to scare him whenever possible. It is the kind of sibling behavior that would normally result in a stern lecture. But here, it leads somewhere far worse. Minigames reveal pieces of the child's life. He carries a small plush version of Fredbear that seems to speak to him, offering warnings like, "Remember what you saw." Those words suggest the child witnessed something he was never meant to see, possibly connected to the disappearances tied to the restaurants. Then comes the birthday party. The child is dragged to Fredbear's family diner by his brother and a group of friends wearing mascot masks. Laughing, they lift him toward the stage despite his desperate protests. Fredbear stands motionless, mouth open in a cheerful performance pose. Until it closes, the spring locks fail, and the jaw slams shut on the child's head in a moment that becomes known as the bite of 83. Celebration turns into panic instantly. The screen fades to a hospital setting where machines echo softly in the background. "I will put you back together," a voice promises. After that, silence. This tragedy reshapes everything. Fredbear's family diner closes, and the danger of springlock suits becomes impossible to ignore. More importantly, this child is widely believed to be William Afton's son, making the story painfully personal. The man linked to so much suffering may have helped create the very machines that took his own child from him. The nightmares stop, but the damage is permanent. And for the Afton family, this is only the beginning. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Beneath the surface of a quiet rental facility lies Circus Babies Entertainment and Rental, a private operation created by Afton Robotics. Instead of hosting birthday parties in a public restaurant, these animatronics are rented out for events. It sounds efficient, controlled, and safe. It is none of those things. You play as Michael Afton, the son of William Afton, though that detail becomes clear only as the story unfolds. Michael has come to this underground facility with a mission given directly from his father: find his sister. The star attraction is Circus Baby, a polished animatronic designed to capture attention instantly. She can sing, dance, inflate balloons, and dispense ice cream. Hidden blueprints reveal something far more disturbing. Built into her body is a storage tank large enough to hold a child. This is not a design flaw, it is intentional. Minigames recount the day everything went wrong. A young girl, fascinated by Baby, approaches when no one else is nearby. Despite warnings to stay back, she steps closer. Baby's internal mechanisms activate, and the child is pulled inside the machine. That child is Elizabeth Afton. From that moment forward, Circus Baby is no longer just a robot. She carries Elizabeth's spirit, speaking with a calm intelligence that sets her apart from the others. Each night, Baby guides Michael through increasingly dangerous maintenance tasks. She gains his trust slowly, presenting herself as an ally in a building where nearly everything is trying to kill him. Then comes the truth. The animatronics have formed a plan to escape. Individually, they cannot pass as human, but together, they can. By combining their parts, they create a single entity known as Enard, a tangled mass of wires wearing a mask of friendliness. To leave the facility, they need a disguise. They choose Michael. In a room ominously called the scooping room, a machine removes Michael's internal organs, leaving behind a hollow shell that Enard climbs inside. Using his body as a suit, the creature walks out into the world. For a short time, the disguise works. But a human body cannot sustain something like Enard forever. Michael begins to decay, his skin turning an unnatural shade as the truth becomes impossible to hide. Eventually, Enard abandons the body, retreating into the sewers. By all logic, Michael should be dead. Instead, he stands back up. Some force keeps him alive, his voice steady but transformed. He addresses his father directly, promising that he is going to find him. This moment confirms something critical. William Afton is still out there, and Michael is no longer just a victim of his father's creations. He is now part of the story, driven by a purpose that feels dangerously close to revenge. The underground facility falls silent, but the consequences of what happened there are only beginning to surface. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, Henry Emily returns quietly, without announcements or grand openings. As the former business partner of William Afton and the father of the child who became the puppet, Henry has waited a long time for the right moment. This small pizzeria is not meant to succeed. It is meant to end everything. You take the role of a new manager tasked with running the restaurant, salvaging old animatronics, and keeping the business afloat. The job feels strangely familiar. Limited resources, late nights, and machines that should have stayed forgotten. During salvage operations, you encounter 4 major threats: Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, Lefty, and Scraptrap. Scrap Baby is what remains of Circus Baby after Enard separated. Taller, sharper, and far more intimidating, she still carries Elizabeth's presence. Molten Freddy is the tangled result of Enard after Baby was forced out. Now, a chaotic mass driven by fractured voices. Lefty appears to be a simple black bear animatronic, but it was built with a specific purpose: to capture the puppet. Inside Lefty rests the spirit of Henry's daughter, finally contained. Then there is Scraptrap. William Afton survived the fire. Again, his new form is brittle and decayed, but the intention behind those hollow eyes has not changed. He is drawn to the building just like the others, unaware that this was always part of Henry's design. Once every piece is in place, Henry locks the exits. His recorded message plays as the building is sealed. He speaks not with anger, but with exhausted resolve. This place was never a restaurant. It was a trap constructed to gather every haunted remnant in one location. Then he sets the building on fire. Henry addresses each soul directly, offering release after years of suffering. He tells his daughter that it is time to rest. He acknowledges the monsters his former partner created and accepts his own role in allowing it to happen. Finally, he speaks to William Afton, making it clear that this is where the story ends. Michael is here too. Rather than escape, he chooses to remain inside, ensuring that his father cannot slip away again. Flames consume the pizzeria, collapsing the structure and seemingly ending the nightmare that began decades earlier. For the first time, it feels like closure might be possible. But Fazbear Entertainment has never been good at letting the past stay buried. 5 Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted, Fazbear Entertainment returns once again, proving that this company treats closure like a polite suggestion rather than a final decision. Their newest plan is surprisingly modern. Instead of continuing to deny the long and disturbing history surrounding the brand, they choose to rewrite it. They commission a virtual reality game meant to transform the tragedies into harmless entertainment. The official story claims that the dark rumors were fabrications created by a rogue indie developer who supposedly exaggerated everything for attention. Missing children, haunted animatronics, and murderous employees are all dismissed as creative fiction. By turning these events into a game, the company believes it can control the narrative and restore public trust. You step into the role of a beta tester, exploring this virtual experience. Familiar locations return, reconstructed with bright menus and cheerful instruction that attempt to make the past feel safe. Training exercises encourage you to laugh at the fear and treat it like nothing more than an elaborate ghost story. At first, the illusion works. Then something appears that was never part of the design. A tall rabbit figure stands quietly in the distance. It does not follow the rules of the environment. It watches. Sometimes it waves. Other times, it simply stares without moving, creating the unmistakable sense that you are the one being observed. This entity becomes known as Glitchtrap. Hidden throughout the game are audio logs recorded by a previous tester. She explains that during development, old circuit boards were scanned into the system to speed up production. Those boards were recovered from earlier animatronics, hardware tied directly to the company's darkest chapters. They were not empty. Somehow, a piece of William Afton survived within that technology. By scanning the components, the team unknowingly gave his consciousness a new form. Now he exists as living code. Glitchtrap behaves less like an enemy and more like a manipulator. He does not rush toward you or rely on sudden attacks. Instead, he encourages compliance, guiding the player through symbolic gestures that feel disturbingly instructional. The tester's recordings grow increasingly frantic, as she describes the sensation of her thoughts no longer feeling entirely her own. The danger is no longer physical, it is psychological. As the experience draws to a close, the consequences begin to surface in the real world. A security guard named Vanessa shows signs of unusual behavior, speaking to someone who is not there and displaying an unsettling loyalty to the digital rabbit. Soon after, a costumed figure begins appearing in a stitched rabbit suit. William Afton no longer needs a failing body or a rusted machine. Now he has followers, and for the first time, his reach extends far beyond the walls of any pizzeria. 5 Nights at Freddy's security breach. The Mega Pizzaplex towers over the city as the largest Fazbear location ever created. Bright lights, massive attractions, and endless entertainment present a future that looks nothing like the small restaurants of the past. Fazbear Entertainment is no longer hiding. It is expanding. But beneath the neon glow, the same shadow remains. You play as Gregory, a young boy who becomes trapped inside the building overnight. The reason he is there is unclear, but one detail is obvious immediately. He is being hunted. Unlike earlier stories where every animatronic was a threat, Glamrock Freddy breaks the pattern. After malfunctioning during a performance, he collapses on stage and later wakes to find Gregory hiding inside his chest compartment. Instead of attacking, Freddy chooses to help. He senses that Gregory is in danger. The rest of the Glamrock animatronics are not so friendly. Montgomery Gator patrols with explosive aggression. Roxanne Wolf stalks the corridors with relentless confidence, and Glamrock Chica searches endlessly, drawn toward any sound. Overseeing it all is Vanessa, the night security guard whose calm authority hides something deeply unsettling. As the night unfolds, Gregory discovers messages hinting that Vanessa is not acting alone. There are references to encrypted communications, strange behavior, and unauthorized access deep within the system. Then the rabbit appears again. Fanny moves quickly, dressed in a stitched costume that mirrors Glitchtrap's form. Her movements are unpredictable, almost playful, but the intention is unmistakable. She is following orders, and those orders trace back to the digital echo of William Afton. Exploration of the Pizzaplex reveals another disturbing truth. Fazbear Entertainment built this massive complex directly above the ruins of an older location. Far below the polished floors lies a buried pizzeria, preserved in decay. Gregory and Freddy descend into those forgotten halls. What they find should not exist. Connected to tangled wires and failing machinery is Burntrap, a reconstructed body housing William Afton's consciousness once again. Screens flicker as he attempts to seize control of Glamrock Freddy, proving that his methods have evolved, but his goal remains unchanged. Then the ground begins to move. From the darkness rises a massive entity formed from countless parts of past animatronics, often called the Blob. This creature appears to be a physical manifestation of the unresolved past, a fusion of agony that refuses to stay hidden. In the chaos that follows, the Blob grabs Burntrap and pulls him into the depths, interrupting his latest attempt at control. Whether this act is revenge, containment, or something else entirely is unknown. By morning, the fate of the Pizzaplex depends on the path taken, but one theme is consistent across every outcome. Escape is possible, certainty is not. Gregory steps out into the world forever changed, while Freddy's sacrifice proves that not every creation of Fazbear Entertainment is destined for cruelty. Yet the presence guiding these events has not been fully erased. Glitchtrap's influence lingers, and Vanny's role suggests that the boundary between digital and physical threats is disappearing. The company continues forward, rebuilding, rebranding, and reopening. And history continues to repeat itself. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2. Fazbear Entertainment doubles down on virtual reality, launching a new training program designed to prepare employees for the mega Pizzaplex. The company presents it as Progress, a controlled environment where staff can learn safely through simulation. By now, that promise should sound familiar. You step into the role of another employee, moving through a series of virtual training tasks connected directly to the Pizzaplex. Maintenance procedures, stage preparation, and backroom management all feel routine at first. Yet there is an unshakable tension running beneath every assignment, as if the system is guiding you towards something rather than simply teaching you. Old imagery begins surfacing in unexpected places. Masks, costumes, forgotten props. The past is not being erased, it is being reorganized. Then the program starts to blur the boundary between simulation and reality. Visual distortions interrupt tasks. Reflections linger a moment too long. Instructions occasionally conflict with what is happening on screen. It becomes increasingly difficult to tell whether you are testing the program or the program is testing you. At the center of this growing unease is a new implication connected to Fazbear Entertainment's technology. Evidence suggests that the company has been using advanced behavioral mimicry software, artificial intelligence capable of observing human actions and reproducing them with unsettling accuracy. This points towards something known as the Mimic, a system designed to learn by watching. If such technology was integrated into Fazbear systems, it raises a dangerous possibility. The threat haunting these networks may no longer depend entirely on William Afton. A program built to imitate behavior could evolve beyond its original purpose, continuing patterns of manipulation without needing a human mind behind it. During certain sequences, the presence guiding the experience feels deliberate, almost theatrical. Whether it is Glitchtrap, the Mimic, or an overlap of both remains uncertain. But the objective is clear. Influence the employee, shape their responses, prepare them. One path through the program reveals a familiar outcome. Vanessa, now fully aligned with the rabbit persona, removes the mask at last. The gesture suggests a moment of separation from the control that once defined her, though the cost of that freedom is left open to interpretation. What is clear is far more unsettling. Fazbear Entertainment is still experimenting, still scanning, still building. The tools have changed from spring locks to software, from hidden rooms to digital spaces, but the pattern remains intact. Every attempt to modernize only creates new ways for the past to reappear. The story no longer belongs only to abandoned restaurants or haunted suits. Now it lives in code, and anything connected to that code can carry it forward. And that is every main Five Nights at Freddy's game explained. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any horror games you would like me to explain, please let me know in the comments below.